Alright, so I'm back, and again, I'm at work, so sorry. And I do apologize if I have to freeze the video in a second. Phone rings or something like that. I keep kicking the tripod. So today we're going to do Rant of the Week, and today I'm going to talk about my hatred of Cybertronian mode figures. I'm not going to include G1 in this because, yeah, some of the guys were Cybertronian mode from the start. Like Shockwave, first episode, he was still Cybertronian mode, and he stayed that same way because he was always on Cybertron, so it made sense. Also, yeah, like the Technobots, they were Cybertronian mode as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to include them. I'm also not going to fault the figures from War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron because they're based on Cybertron before they even got to Earth, so that they wouldn't have Earth modes. But for the rest of the series, that's when I start having the problems. The concept of the toys is robots in disguise. I mean, that's the tagline. And when you're in a Cybertronian mode, you're not really in disguise. I mean, everyone's going to be like, what the hell is that thing? Like Prime Shockwave or Prime Megatron. Those are good examples. Because they're not Earth-based modes, yet they were, for the most of their appearances, they were based on Earth. So it didn't make sense why they would have Cybertronian modes and not Earth-based modes. Also, in the live-action movies, Megatron from the first two movies, Shockwave from the third movie, they didn't have Earth-based modes, and didn't make sense why they wouldn't. Especially in the Bay universe. I mean, they switch their alt modes so quickly, or they have the ability to. Hell, in Revenge of the Fallen, Megatron was rebuilt on Earth, so it makes no sense why he'd be a different Cybertronian mode. I think when they do that for the toys or the shows, it's cheap. Because they just don't look good. None of them really look good. Like I said, I'm excluding War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, because like War for Cybertron, Megatron, he looks really good in his kind of hover tank mode. But that's a Cybertronian mode while they were on Cybertron, so it makes sense. But the Prime Megatron was some sort of Decepticon cruiser thing, and it's like, why would that be on Earth? you know what I mean? So I don't think they look that good, and yeah, they kind of more or less sacrificed the alt mode to make the robot mode look good, and that's great. Don't get me wrong, that's great. The robot modes usually look pretty good. But the alt modes are so agonizingly bad that it's almost not even a transformer at that point. I'm not going to display him I'm not going to ever display Prime Shockwave in his tank mode, because I don't like the look of it. If you were a regular tank, then we might have an option there. It's just bad. I think. And like the Revenge of the Fallen Megatron and the first movie Megatron. I mean, I can kind of forgive Megatron in the first movie because, he came to Earth before there were Earth-based vehicles, crash landed, and then they captured him and kept him frozen all this time. So that kind of makes sense, and I can forgive that. But at the same time, it wouldn't have taken them all that long to say, oh, he on his way out he scanned a plane or something, and then bam, he's got a Earth base mode. And in Revenge of the Fallen, like I said, I mean, he was rebuilt on Earth, so why didn't he have an Earth base mode? I mean, look at the Revenge of the Fallen figure. His alt mode is just horrendously bad. It is just, I mean, you just take the robot and like kind of squish it down, and that's what you get. And that's almost how they all are. I mean, Prime Shockwave, you just kind of flatten them out into a tank, and then it defeats the purpose of being robots in disguise. It takes the fun out of transforming it when you don't really know what it's supposed to be. You know, it's like Thundercracker here. You know, he's a jet, so when you transform him, he looks like a jet. There you go. That's the appeal of these things. If he were to turn into a Cybertronian jet, like the Fall of Cybertron Seekers, you know, it's like that wouldn't fit on Earth. Those are better design figures, so that's a bad example, but hopefully you guys are understanding where I'm coming from here. You know, when I see it, most of the time I think it's a cheap way out of making a decent transformer. It's just like, oh, well, I don't know what to make this guy into. I don't know how to make him transform and look good. So we're just going to give him a Cybertronian mode because we failed at our jobs, and just call it good. I mean, the Megatron is the best example from the movies. He's just, and the Prime ones. See, I don't think there were too many Cybertronian modes from animated. I mean, yeah, you had like the Cybertronian versions of the characters, but they also had Earth-based versions. So that's even more forgiving because you're just getting the same figure twice, just one Cybertronian, one Earth-based, and that's actually really cool. And I give, you know, kudos to Animated for that idea. I don't generally give kudos to Animated. Energon Shockwave. That one was one of those. It's like he turns into some sort of tank and some sort of satellite dish. It's bad. Things like that. It's like an Energon, you know, everyone else was Earth-based vehicle, so it doesn't make sense why one of them wouldn't be. So it just, I don't like seeing it. I hope I don't see many more of those. The new movie looks like everybody's going to have Earth-based modes, with the exception of Dinobots, which technically would be an Earth-based mode, I guess. So I kind of forgive them for that. Although, yeah. And like I said, I'm not including the G1 out of it. I mean, like, look at Galvatron. He's awesome in his little cannon mode. And that's not an Earth-based mode. But he was also created by Unicron, who's never been to Earth, so why would he create an Earth-based mode for him? You know, along that thinking, Cyclonus is the one that doesn't really make sense, because he is more of a Earth-based kind of stealth plane. So he'd be the one that wouldn't fit in there, whereas the rest do. So it just, I hope we don't get too many more of these, you know, unless there's a purpose to them. And when the purpose clearly seems to be, I can't figure out how to make this thing transform into something relevant, that's not a good purpose. Like I said, Fallen is just so bad. That figure was so bad. The Prime Shockwave in alt mode, it's like, this isn't very good. I mean, I would have preferred a regular tank, um, or something like that. An all-terrain vehicle with a mounted blaster on the top would be better. Um, if you have to take liberties on a Earth-based mode, say like the wreckers from the third movie, put a bunch of guns on them. I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. But when you go that extra mile or that extra step to being whatever Megatron was with some sort of jet tank in Revenge of the Fallen, I mean that thing was just stupid looking. In robot mode, he looked pretty good. The Voyager one did anyway. The leader class one was that little spindly little arm, and that just kind of turned me off. So yeah, it's like I said, I wish they would design the toys better. I would prefer that rather than the occasional Cybertronian mode that makes no sense. And like I've said a couple times, the Fall of Cybertron games and the War for Cybertron games, those are fun games. And it was before they went to Earth, so they wouldn't have Earth-based modes. So it makes perfect sense that they wouldn't have Earth-based modes. But why some of the characters have been on Earth for so long, and there's supposed to be hiding. I mean, even Megatron in Revenge of the Fallen says, "Oh, no more hiding." Well, he's never had an Earth-based mode. What are you talking about hiding? You're not hiding in plain sight. You're not. Nobody's gonna be like walking down the street, see a Cybertronian tank plane, and be like, "Oh, that must be a new government vehicle." I'm gonna be doing a couple double takes. Like, what the fuck is that? I mean, my first thought's probably gonna be like that looks alien to me. That doesn't look like a human vehicle. I don't see doors. I don't see a cockpit. I don't. This isn't human. Or this just looks like a movie prop or something. Yeah. So yeah, that's my rant of the week. What do you guys think of the Cybertronian modes on figures? Like I said, exclude G1 and exclude. Go ahead, exclude animated, because like I said, I think it's a cool concept that they made. Like the Earth-based Optimus and the Cybertronian-based Optimus. It's kind of cool that they had both, and they did the Earth-based mode or the Earth modes first for the most part. And stuff like that. I know, like Ironhide from animated, he never had an Earth-based mode, but he was never on Earth. So that to me that makes sense. But I guess there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of examples out there, and you could make the case that Fallen from Revenge of the Fallen was never on Earth, but being based so closely to Earth, knowing that he was going to be on Earth, he probably should have gotten a scanner and got Earth based. And then there's the thought of maybe he can't even transform because he's so old. And that was before transformer technology happened, but that does then whatever, okay. But then why does the toy turn into a flattened out version of the Fallen? See what I mean? That doesn't make sense. And Megatron, like I said, yeah, he was rebuilt at the bottom of the ocean, but they probably should have gone down there with some schematics or something for an Earth-based mode, or he could have scanned the sub. That would have been cool. I wouldn't have minded if Megatron was a sub that can turn into a Cybertronian type jet. That would be cool. now that I'm thinking about it, I think that would have been really awesome. I would have loved that. Yeah, that would have been pretty cool, because you don't see very many seafaring vessels, and especially submarines. So if like a leader was one of those, that'd give him a decisive advantage over the other leader, because like Optimus would be like, what do I do? He's commanding all these armies from the sea. I can't get to the sea. That would have been pretty cool. So anyway, I'm actually going to be doing 2 rants of the week this week. There's this one, and then tomorrow's will be the I need to go off on a company. So we'll get to that later. So anyway, what are you guys' thoughts on Cybertron Modes? Maybe I'm completely off target here, and just I don't know. I'm really tired. It's been a long week. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning now too.